All right, there are three types of pivots that we're interested in. One type of a pivot is a hit pivot. It's a pivot that has been hit on the day that it was created or at some other time. As you can see here, the candles are touching the blue line. That means that price hit that pivot. Sometimes price doesn't hit a pivot until later on, meaning that a pivot wasn't hit on the day that it was created, but it was hit later. In the example of this pivot right here, this pivot was not hit on the day that it was created. There's no candles touching it on the day that it was created. How do you know which is the day that it was created? The length of the pivot is the length of the day. Pretty easy. However, later on, a few days later, price dropped to that level, and that pivot became hit. How do we know price dropped to that level? Because we could draw a horizontal line from where this pivot is now to this price and see that price hit it. Let's draw that horizontal line. Yes, that pivot's been hit. So the first type of a pivot is a hit pivot. They're not interesting to us. They don't mean anything to us, and we don't use them for anything after they've been hit. The second type of pivot that matters is a missed pivot. It's a pivot that was not hit on the day that it was created and still has not been hit since. This pivot from December 13th at 89.71 has not been hit. These candles to the right did not hit that level. It has not yet been hit. This becomes a magnet. You already know that. The next type of pivot is a pivot that has not yet been hit and it's on the day that it's created or the week that it's created. For example, this is this week's weekly pivot. You don't call it a missed pivot yet because the week isn't over. Once the week is over, that pivot is referred to as missed. But as of right now, that pivot has not yet been hit. I suppose somewhere out there in trading land, on some financial instrument that has been moving a lot, there is a daily pivot that has not yet been hit. But here's an example of the Euro Australian. This is a hit pivot. This is a hit one. This is a hit one. This is a hit one. This is a hit. All of those are daily. And the weekly pivot has not yet been hit. It's not missed because the week isn't over. Last week's pivot was missed. It's pretty interesting. So there's your definition of missed, hit, and not yet hit pivots.